There's an inn hidden deep in the mountains of northern Vermont, a place travelers only find when they're lost. The strange part isn't the building itself. It's the fact that nobody who stayed there ever slept. Not for 1 minute. Some guests claimed they heard whispers crawling through the walls. Others said the hallways changed shape after midnight. But almost every survivor described the same thing. At exactly 3:13 a.m., someone knocked on their door. The problem? When they looked through the peephole, there was nobody there. And, according to local police records, the inn officially burned down in 1987. Rain hammered against the windshield as Daniel Mercer tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The GPS on his phone had died nearly 30 minutes ago. No signal. No lights. No nearby towns. Just miles of twisting mountain roads swallowed by fog. Daniel checked the clock on his dashboard. 11:42 p.m. Perfect. His car sputtered violently. Then the engine died. Come on, come on. He turned the key again. Nothing. The rain intensified. Daniel sighed and stepped outside into the freezing night air. The forest around him was impossibly quiet. No insects. No wind. Nothing. Then he saw it. A faint yellow light glowing through the trees. At first he thought it was a cabin. But as he walked closer, he realized it was an inn. A massive 3-story building stood hidden among the woods. Its wooden sign swung slowly in the rain. Blackwood Inn. The building looked old. Very old. Yet every window glowed warmly. Daniel hesitated. Something about the place felt wrong. But he was freezing. And stranded. So, he approached the front door. The bell above it rang softly as he entered. Inside, the inn looked untouched by time. Dim chandeliers, red carpets, old paintings lining the walls. A fireplace crackled quietly, and standing behind the front desk was an elderly woman in a dark green dress. She smiled immediately. Rough night to be traveling. Daniel forced a laugh. You could say that. The woman slid a brass key across the counter. Room 13. Daniel frowned. You didn't even ask my name. I know enough. The answer landed strangely. Daniel stared at her. Do you have electricity here? Most nights. Most nights? Before he could ask more, another guest appeared from the hallway. A tall man in a gray suit. Pale. Exhausted. His eyes were bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. The man looked at Daniel for a long moment, then whispered, "Don't fall asleep," and walked away. Room 13 smelled faintly of dust and lavender. The wallpaper peeled near the ceiling. An old analog clock ticked loudly beside the bed. Daniel checked his phone again. Still no signal. He tossed his bag down and sat on the mattress. The springs creaked beneath him. Then, he heard footsteps above him. Slow, heavy. Back and forth. Daniel looked up, but this was the top floor. There shouldn't be anyone above him. The footsteps stopped. Silence returned. Then came the first knock. 3 soft taps against the door. Daniel opened it immediately. Empty hallway. No one there. Only dim lights flickering overhead. He stepped outside. The hallway seemed longer than before. Far longer. The old man in the gray suit stood near the staircase staring directly at him. You opened it? Daniel frowned. Opened what? The door. Before Daniel could respond, the man quickly disappeared down the stairs. That night, Daniel tried sleeping, but every time he closed his eyes, he heard something moving inside the walls. Not rats. Not pipes. It sounded almost human, like muffled whispering. At 1:26 a.m., the whispers became words. Stay awake. Daniel sat upright immediately. His heart pounded. The voice had come from beside his bed. He switched on the lamp. Nothing. But the analog clock had stopped ticking. The hands now read 3:13, even though his phone said 1:26. Then, knock, knock, knock. The door again. This time louder. Daniel approached slowly. Who's there? No response. He looked through the peephole. Nothing. Completely empty hallway. But then, a whisper came from directly behind him. Don't look away. Daniel spun around. Nobody. When he looked back at the peephole, there was suddenly an eye staring back at him from the other side. A pale human eye, wide open, unblinking. Daniel stumbled backward in terror. The knocking stopped instantly. The next morning, or what felt like morning, Daniel went downstairs. The lobby looked darker now. The fireplace had gone out, and the other guests looked terrible. One woman sat silently at a table clutching a cup of coffee with trembling hands. A younger man repeatedly scratched at his neck until it bled. Nobody spoke. The old receptionist smiled as if everything were normal. Sleep well? Daniel ignored the question. What is this place? The woman tilted her head slightly. A resting place. No, something's wrong here. The receptionist's smile faded. You should leave before tonight. Daniel nodded immediately. Gladly. But when he stepped outside, the forest was gone. In every direction surrounding the inn, there was only dense black fog. Not natural fog. This fog moved, slowly twisting like smoke underwater. Daniel walked into it anyway. After 10 steps, he emerged right back at the inn's front entrance. His breathing became uneven. No. The front door creaked open behind him. The man in the gray suit stood there again. You can't leave after sunset. Daniel stared at him. What is this place? The man's hands trembled violently. I checked in 3 years ago. Daniel froze. That's impossible. I thought so too. The man revealed deep dark circles under his eyes. I haven't slept since. Daniel backed away slowly. You're lying. The man shook his head. If you fall asleep here, it finds you. What finds you? Before the man could answer, a loud scream echoed from upstairs. Everyone in the lobby froze. Then silence. The receptionist calmly adjusted a picture frame. No running in the halls, she whispered. Daniel rushed upstairs anyway. Room 16's door stood open. Inside, the young man who had scratched his neck was gone. Only the bed remained, completely soaked in black liquid, and written across the wall in jagged letters. He finally slept. That night, the inn changed. The walls groaned constantly. Hallways stretched unnaturally long. Doors appeared where there were none before. Daniel began noticing figures standing at the ends of corridors. Tall shadows that disappeared whenever he blinked. At exactly 3:13 a.m., every clock inside the inn stopped. Then came the knocking. Every door, every hallway. Knock, knock, knock. The entire building echoed with it. Guests locked themselves inside their rooms. Some cried. Some prayed. Daniel sat awake, clutching a lamp. Then he heard footsteps outside his door. Slow, dragging footsteps, followed by a voice. His own voice. Daniel, open the door. His blood turned cold. Daniel, you left me outside. The voice sounded perfect, exactly like him. Then came scratching against the wood. Long fingernails scraping slowly downward. The gray-suited man suddenly burst into Daniel's room. His eyes were wild with terror. Don't listen to it. What'd I ask that thing? The man slammed the door shut. I don't know, but this inn feeds it. The knocking became violent. The entire room shook. Boom, boom, boom. Then the voice outside whispered, He's lying. The gray-suited man covered his ears. It learns from you. Every night it gets closer. Daniel noticed something horrifying. The man's reflection in the mirror behind him wasn't moving. It stood perfectly still, smiling. The real man slowly realized it too. Then his reflection raised one finger to its lips. SHHHHH. The mirror shattered instantly. Dark hands exploded outward from the glass. The man screamed as the hands dragged him backward into the mirror itself. Daniel watched helplessly as the reflection pulled him into darkness. Then silence. Only one thing remained on the broken floor. The brass room key. Room 13. Daniel ran. Down endless hallways. Past doors that whispered his name. Past guests banging from inside locked rooms. The inn no longer looked human. The wallpaper pulsed like breathing skin. The ceiling dripped black liquid. And somewhere deep inside the building, something massive moved. At exactly 3:13 a.m., every light went out. Darkness swallowed the inn completely. Then came a single voice from the lobby below. The receptionist. Checkout time. Daniel stumbled downstairs. The old woman stood smiling beside the front door. Behind her, the fog outside had disappeared. The road was back. His car sat waiting untouched. "You can leave now," she said calmly. Daniel didn't hesitate. He sprinted outside, jumped into the car, and drove. He never looked back. By sunrise, he reached the nearest town. Exhausted and shaking, he rushed into a diner and asked about Blackwood Inn. But the waitress looked confused. "There's no one up there," Daniel insisted. He described everything: the building, the receptionist, the guests. The waitress slowly went pale. Then she disappeared into the back room. Moments later, an older man emerged carrying a newspaper clipping. He placed it gently on the counter. Daniel's stomach dropped. The headline read, "Blackwood Inn destroyed in fire. 1987, 13 guests missing. No survivors found." Daniel stared at the black and white photo beneath the headline. The inn. Exactly as he remembered it. But something else caught his eye. Standing near one of the upstairs windows was a figure watching the camera. A man, wearing a gray suit, eyes wide with terror. And beside him, in room 13's window, stood Daniel himself, smiling. As the waitress quietly whispered, "You look tired." Daniel froze, because for the first time in 2 days, he suddenly felt sleepy. And somewhere far away came 3 soft knocks. Knock, knock, knock.